of Management Studies, IGNOU presents an audiobook on the course MMPC 003 Business Environment for MBA program. Presenting Block 1, Introduction to Business Environment. Unit 2, Economic Growth and Development, Part 1. After completing this unit, you should be able to explain the concept of economic growth and economic development, discuss the Harrod-Domar model, Solow model, endogenous growth theory, and major theories of underdevelopment, familiarize with national income accounting, gross domestic product, that is GDP, various concepts related to national income along with methods of estimating national income, and discuss inflation and its effect on various aspects of the economy. Introduction. Achieving a higher rate of economic growth is the objective of every nation around the world. It is because of economic growth that production, employment, income, saving and investment in the country increase. The standard of living improves and the people of the country prosper. But how can this objective be met? What are the major factors which contribute to achieving higher rate of economic growth? The various growth models and theories given by economists provide an answer to this problem. The economic literature is full of many theories like classical, Marxist, neoclassical, and many others who have tried to investigate the reasons behind underdevelopment and the possible solutions. In this unit, you will learn about few models like Harrod-Domar, Solow, and endogenous growth theory along with some theories of underdevelopment. Harrod-Domar theory highlights the role of saving and investment in achieving higher economic growth. The Solow model talks about the importance of technology and capital accumulation, whereas endogenous growth theory emphasizes the role and importance of investment in human and physical capital. You will also learn about national income, various concepts related to national income and various methods of estimating it. Further, you will get familiarized with concept of inflation and how does it impact different sections of the society. Theories of economic growth. You must have heard or read at one time or another that some countries of the world like USA, Germany, etc. are termed as developed countries. On the other hand, countries like India, China, etc. are classified as developing. Now you might be guessing how countries are labeled as developed, developing or underdeveloped, and why is it so that some are developed and others are underdeveloped? Well, the answer lies in the per capita income, that is PCY, gross domestic product, that is GDP, and gross national income, that is GNI. Countries are classified into various categories of development and level of income based on a certain level of income threshold. These thresholds are defined by different world organizations like United Nations, World Bank, etc. from time to time. Economic growth indicates an increase in the national income and total output of the country. The growing GDP, gross national income, and production capacity of the country are some of the indicators of economic growth of a nation. Economic growth can be viewed as the material well-being of a country. On the other hand, economic development implies an upward trend in the real income of the country over a long period. According to Schumpeter, economic development is a change in the stationary state of the economy. This change is erratic, spontaneous, and discontinuous. It is a movement from one equilibrium point to another. It is a steady and gradual change that happens in the long run and is a result of a general increase in the rate of savings and population. It also implies a per capita increase in the production of a country. Achieving a higher level of economic growth and economic development are major planning goals of every nation. It is with a higher level of total output that the standard of living, productive capacity, and overall efficiency of the nation increases. It is because of the increase in GDP that employment increases and more people find jobs. With an increase in employment level, income level improves and the problem of poverty and deprivation can be eradicated. Purchasing power parity, that is PPP. Purchasing power parity or PPP is used to make comparisons between economic growth and standard of living among nations. This task of international comparison is led by World Bank through its statistical initiative known as International Comparison Program, that is ICP. ICP provides comparable price and volume measures of GDP and its expenditure aggregates among countries and publishes PPP of the world's economies. PPP measures the purchasing power of the currency. It measures the total amount of goods and services that a single unit of a currency of one country can buy in another country. For example, if a pair of shoes cost Rs 3,000 in India and if the same pair of shoes cost $50 in the USA, then the exchange rate between the US dollar and Indian rupee is $1 equals to Rs 60. It means $1 is equal to 60 rupees of India. PPP is used to convert the cost of a basket of goods and services into common currency, and in this process, the price difference is eliminated across countries. PPP equalizes the purchasing power of currencies. It is important to discuss the PPP as data on various developed indicators is published using the PPP approach. Measurement of economic development. Economists are interested in measuring economic development because it can help in ranking the countries and making meaningful comparisons. From time to time, attempt has been made to measure economic development with some socio-economic indicators ranging from Social Development Index of United Nations Research Institute on Social Development, Physical Quality of Life Index, that is PQLI of Maurice D. Morris, to Human Development Index, HDI. In modern times, HDI is one most widely accepted index. Let us understand how does it work and rank countries. HDI is prepared by United Nations Development Programme, that is UNDP, and was developed by economist Mehboob ul Haq. It is a composite index made from 3 indicators measuring key dimensions of human development. These 3 indicators are life expectancy, that is Life Expectancy Index, expected years of schooling and mean years of schooling, that is Education Index, and a decent standard of living measured by GNI per capita, that is GNI Index. The top 5 countries in the HDI ranking of 2020 were Norway, Ireland, Switzerland, Hong Kong, and Iceland. And in the same ranking, India stood at 131 rank out of 189 countries. World Bank has prepared the list of countries based on income level. World Bank has divided countries into 4 categories, namely low-income economies, lower middle-income economies, upper middle-income economies, and high-income economies. Under low-income economies, we have countries like Afghanistan, Somalia, Madagascar, etc. Lower middle-income economies include India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Bhutan, etc. Upper middle-income economies have China, Thailand, Cuba, Maldives, etc. And high-income economies include USA, UK, Finland, France, New Zealand, Germany, Norway, etc. Now we will briefly discuss major theories of economic growth, namely the Harrod-Dommer model, Solow model, endogenous growth theory, and theories of underdevelopment. Harrod-Dommer model of economic growth. This model of economic growth was given by two economists, namely Roy Harrod and Evese Domer, in the early 1950s. This model highlights the role of saving and investment in economic growth. According to this model, the growth rate in an economy is dependent upon two factors. One is the saving income rate, that is S by Y, and the second is capital output ratio, that is the amount of capital required to produce a unit of output. The model is based on many assumptions like no government interference in the working of the market, which means laissez-faire, full employment in the economy, closed economy, the law of constant returns to scale, neutral technical progress, etc. In this model, three growth rates are explained, namely actual growth, warranted growth rate, and natural growth rate. The actual growth rate is determined by the actual rate of saving and investment. It is expressed as change in income divided by total income. This growth rate is determined by the saving income ratio and capital output ratio, and its relationship can be expressed in the functional form, which is GC equals to S or G equal to S by C. In this equation, G stands for actual growth rate and C stands for capital output ratio. Hence, we can say that change in capital stock over change in income, or delta K over delta Y, or 1 by delta Y, where I stands for investment and S stands for saving income rate, that is S by Y. For example, if the saving rate of an economy is 10% and the capital output ratio is 2, then the economy would grow at 5% per annum. Warranted growth rate. The warranted growth rate is also known as full capacity growth rate or potential growth rate. If the economy is making optimum use of its resources and working at full capacity, then we can say that this is the warranted rate of growth. Natural growth rate. An economy can achieve this rate of growth with the help of natural resources. Factors like capital equipment, technical knowledge, amount of fertile land, minerals and forest cover, etc. determine the natural growth rate of an economy. This is the upper limit or the ceiling beyond which we cannot go. Harrod-Domer model highlights that investment has a dual role to play. It increases income on one hand via multiplier process, and on the other hand, it enhances the productive capacity of the country. Further, lack of saving and deficiency of investment are major bottlenecks in the path of economic growth. So there is a need to mobilize domestic savings or create a domestic environment conducive for generating investment and achieving higher economic growth. Solow model of economic growth. Solow model is also known as neoclassical growth theory and was propounded by Robert Solow of Massachusetts Institute of Technology in 1956, also awarded Nobel Prize for Economics in 1987. This model propounds that changes in population growth rate, rate of technological progress, and saving rate bring about changes in the level of output. There are three basic propositions of neoclassical growth theory. First, the growth of output in the long-run steady state is determined by the rate of growth of the labor force and the rate of growth of labor productivity. Second, the level of per capita income, that is PCY, depends upon the rate of saving and investment to GDP. Third, there will be convergence in the income levels of different countries with certain assumptions related to labor force growth, savings, depreciation and productivity growth. The major assumptions of model are: number 1, the labor force grows at a constant exogenous rate. Number 2, constant returns to scale. Number 3, output is a function of capital and labor, and both factors are subjected to diminishing productivity. Number 4, the elasticity of substitution is equal to 1. Number 5, all of the saving is converted into investment, that is, no independent investment function. And number 6, variable capital output ratio. As stated in the assumption that the diminishing return operates, it is because of this reason that the production function assumes a flat shape as the amount of capital per worker increases or K increases. One of the major implications of neoclassical model is that there will be conditional convergence in the level of income of various economies. Endogenous growth or new growth theory. The central idea of endogenous growth theory is that the economic growth of a nation is generated by the factors which are within the production process or endogenous, like technological change or increasing returns to scale, rather than exogenous factors. GNI growth is a natural consequence of long-run equilibrium. This conclusion is in contrast to the famous belief of the neoclassical theory. The major objective of this new growth theory is to explain differences in the growth rate observed by developed and underdeveloped countries. Further, the theory assumes increasing returns to scale in production function, which implies that proportionate change in output will be more than proportionate change in inputs. Moreover, they have highlighted the role of externalities and further propagated that these externalities do impact the rate of return on capital investment. Externalities are the cost of benefits that originate from either production or consumption of a good or service. Heavy investment in human capital, like providing training, imparting skill, etc., generate external economies which mitigates the negative effect of diminishing returns. Rather, it leads to increasing returns to scale and a higher level of productivity. The simple equation explaining endogenous growth can be expressed as Y equals to AK. Here Y refers to output or growth, and A is the constant marginal productivity of capital, that is K. This type of production function is linear in nature. In this equation, K not only includes physical capital alone, but human capital also. Endogenous growth theory propagates the important role of saving and human capital investment in achieving a higher level of growth. The higher the level of savings in the economy, the higher will be capital stock and national income. Similarly, this theory also explains that a higher level of the international flow of capital widens the inequality gap between developed and underdeveloped countries. According to theory, developing countries offer a higher rate of returns on investment, which lures the capital flow towards these countries. According to theory, developing countries offer a higher rate of returns on investment, which lowers the capital flow towards these countries. But developing countries have much lower levels of complementary investment in human capital, that is, investment that supplements and support other productive factors. These countries are marred by a lower level of investment in infrastructure, education, schooling, research and development. So these countries are unable to fully utilize the benefits of international capital flows. Complementary investments create positive externalities, and when these private and social benefits are realized, the government also contributes to efficient resource allocation. More and more public goods like roads, railways, etc. are created by the government agencies. Similarly, the government can encourage private investment in knowledge-intensive industries like education, training, etc., which leads to the creation of more and more human capital. These changes ultimately help in mitigating the drawback of diminishing returns. Endogenous growth theory suggests that government or public policy should work in the direction of expanding the budget and expenditures on the creation of human capital and promoting or creating a conducive environment that attracts foreign private investment in the fields like software development, information technology, telecommunication, etc. Major theories of underdevelopment. In the economic literature, there are a vast number of theories related to underdevelopment. as discussing all of them are beyond the scope of this unit, we present the details about major theories of underdevelopment, namely vicious circle of poverty, low-level equilibrium trap, critical minimum effort, big push, and stages of economic growth. The vicious circle of poverty theory. This theory is associated with Professor Nerks, who propounded that the main reason for the backwardness of underdeveloped countries is the vicious circle of poverty. According to Professor Nerks, the vicious circle of poverty is, and I quote, circular constellation of forces tending to act and react in such a way as to keep a country in the state of poverty, unquote. From the supply side, low income leads to low rate of savings and investment, low rate of capital formation, which again leads to low productivity and production. From the demand side, low income leads to low consumption and demand for goods and services, which creates less incentive for investment and production. Underdeveloped countries need to break this circle with the help of entrepreneurship and the labor force. Low level of equilibrium trap model. Richard Nelson in 1956 gave this theory of low level of equilibrium trap, in which he highlights that underdeveloped countries are trapped in a low level of income. He propounds that in underdeveloped countries there is low per capita income. It is because of poverty that individuals' income levels are low, which are the cause of low saving and investment rate and ultimately low national income. Accordingly, a quantum leap above minimum per capita income is required to above which people are able to raise the level of savings, and this results in a higher level of national income and economic growth. Critical minimum effort theory. The critical minimum effort theory is associated with economist Harvey Leibenstein. Leibenstein was of the opinion that underdeveloped countries were entrapped in the vicious circle of poverty, and to rise above this poverty trap, a minimum level of investment or critical minimum effort is needed. This minimum level of investment is of paramount importance for raising per capita income and economic growth. According to the theory, in every economy there are two forces. Number one, income depressing forces or shocks that lead to a fall in per capita income, and number two, income generating forces or stimulants. The main feature of underdeveloped economies is that income depressing forces are abundant and are one of the main reasons for their underdevelopment, and to overcome these hurdles or to break the chain of underdevelopment, a critical level of investment is needed. Next is theory of big push. Professor Paul N. Rosenstein-Rodin gave the theory of big push in 1943. According to the theory of big push, bit by bit investment program will not yield the desired result in underdeveloped countries, and they need huge and comprehensive investment package, that is big push, to move from the stage of underdevelopment towards development. Citing an example of an aeroplane, he says that an aeroplane needs some critical ground speed to take off and become airborne. Same for an economy, a big push is needed to unshackle itself from chains of underdevelopment. He has identified three kinds of indivisibilities, intending to specify the areas where big push needs to be applied, namely indivisibilities in the production function, indivisibility of demand, and indivisibility of savings. Indivisibilities in the production function may be due to inputs, output, or processes, and these lead to increasing returns. An important form of indivisibilities is the social overhead capital like infrastructure, which are a major obstacle to economic development, and a large sum of investment is required to overcome this obstacle. Indivisibilities in demand requires that investment be made in many industries which could mutually support each other, instead of just concentrating on a few for the purpose of complementary demand. Lastly, underdeveloped countries face a huge dearth of supply of savings due to low income levels, and this leads to low investment. Rostow's stages of economic growth. Rostow in 1959 presented the 5 stages of economic growth which all countries must pass to become developed. The 5 stages are traditional society, precondition to take off, drive to maturity, and age of high mass consumption. Traditional society is predominant agrarian and production function is primitive with no scientific temper or perspective. In precondition to take off, which is the transitional phase, ideas begin to germinate for economic progress and better lives for the present and future. Manufacturing began to develop along with agriculture and the establishment of institutions for mobilizing savings and investment. Take-off stage is marked by dynamic changes in society and a substantial increase in the standard of living. Take-off stage requires the rate of investment which is in the range of 5 to 10% of GNP. Development of the manufacturing sector and the existence of social, political and institutional framework is another feature of the take-off stage. According to Rostow, after 40 years of take-off stage, there is a long interval. In this interval, diversification takes place in all sectors of the economy. Multiple industries are set up and the process of industrialization is highly sophisticated and manufacturing of consumer durables picks up along with capital goods. A large investment is taken up in infrastructure, both physical and social. In the age of high consumption, the industrial sector dominates the economy, people have a large amount of disposable income, and the urbanization process gain heavy momentum. You were listening to the audiobook by the School of Management Studies IGNOU for MBA program. Course code MMPC002 Human Resource Management. Course coordinator Professor Nayantara Padhi from School of Management Studies IGNOU. Voiceover by Harpreet Kaur. Edited by Ruchi Sharma. Program assisted by Tarannum Jahan. Program produced by Dr. Manoj Kumar Singh. This program was brought to you by Electronic Media Production Center of Indira Gandhi National Open University.